morning, but kind of fizzle out as it reaches the Midlands. Could pep up again, though, bringing a bit of rain to East Anglia and the southeast in the afternoon. Showers for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland. Very windy here and a blustery day elsewhere, but with some sunshine. Look at those temperatures again, widely into the teens. Through the course of the evening, that rain likely to stick around across the far southeast. A few showers elsewhere and some heavier bursts of rain during the early hours of Sunday crossing England and Wales. Still around on Sunday morning across the eastern parts of England. Still breezy on Sunday, although not quite as windy, at least initially. But then we've got to look at this little weather feature, a band of potentially very heavy rain and gusty, squally winds working across England and Wales during Sunday. I say that needs to be kept a close eye on because it could provide some very heavy rain. Brighter skies further north with a mixture of sunshine and showers, but it will be windy. Still mild on Sunday, but not as mild, and temperatures are dropping off as we go through the next few days. Northerly winds set in, so finally turning a bit colder from Tuesday.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Good evening, I'm Polly Middlehurst and you're watching GB News Live. And as the country starts to begin a very different kind of New Year's Eve tonight, we'll get more from around the UK and how the different nations are celebrating in their different ways. But for now, let's get an update on the news. Here's Karen Roberts.
Thank you, Polly. These are your latest headlines. The Health Secretary has warned hospital admissions are rising, particularly in the over 60s, as COVID infections surge. The UK has reported another record high of almost 190,000 daily cases, with 12,395 people being treated in hospital. The NHS says the coming weeks will be tough. Staff absences have nearly doubled in the last month because of the virus. The government's being urged to give them priority access to tests so that they can get back to work sooner. The sentences of the stepmother and father who killed Arthur Labinjo Hughes have been referred to the Court of Appeal for being too lenient. Emma Tustin was jailed for life with a minimum of 29 years after being convicted of his murder. Thomas Hughes was given 21 years for manslaughter. The 6-year-old died from a brain injury whilst under their care in June last year. A date for the hearing is yet to be set. A 15-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a teenager was stabbed in South London. It was one of two fatal incidents which brought the number of teenage homicides in the capital this year to a record number of 30. A 16-year-old boy was killed in Eusleigh and a 15-year-old died in Croydon. London Mayor Sadiq Khan says he's devastated by the double tragedy. Britain has become one of the first countries in the world to approve the use of a Pfizer COVID-19 pill for at-risk adults. The UK's medicines regulator says Paxlovid is most effective when taken early, recommending it to be used within 5 days of the first symptoms. It's for anyone aged over 18 with a mild to moderate infection who's at risk of developing severe symptoms. Hogmanay celebrations have been cancelled across Scotland because of the surge in COVID cases. London, however, will ring in the new year with a fireworks display, but people are being told to watch it on television. A warning, we're about to show some flashing images. Here's how Hong Kong brought in 2022.
3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
Fireworks and light shows were on display at the Sky Tower in Auckland in New Zealand and, of course, at the Sydney Harbour Bridge in Australia. 6 tonnes of fireworks and 80,000 pyrotechnic effects lit up the sky to mark the occasion. That's your news update. I'll be back at the top of the hour. Now back to Polly.
Good evening to you. I'm Polly Middlehurst and this is GB News Live. A very warm welcome to this New Year's Eve. I don't have a glass of champagne, I just have a nice hot lemon tea to get me through as we go through how people this year are planning to see in the new year. It's going to be very different this year, isn't it? It's no doubt going to depend largely on whereabouts you are in the country and indeed what restrictions are in place where you are. We know, for example, that in Scotland, people are being urged to stay at home and avoid travelling to England for New Year's Eve celebrations. Our own correspondents have been in touch with us saying that they're witnessing huge numbers of Scottish people going across the border. We'll try and bring you the latest on that later in the programme. But in Scotland, the reason for that, traditional large-scale Hogmanay festivities have been completely cancelled as part of those COVID-19 restrictions which came into force at the weekend. Bars, pubs and clubs, though, in England are gearing up for what could be the biggest party night of the year. Hospitality bosses in the northeast are hoping partygoers facing Scottish restrictions will choose to spend their money south of the border. Our northeast of England correspondent Rachel Sweeney is looking forward to a big night at Newcastle's Big Market.
Newcastle is a destination party city. Clubbers from across the UK and around the globe head to Geordieland to bring in the new year. It's known for its warm welcome and cheap pints. It's a huge night for hospitality, tourism and our local economy.
We've got nightclubs, we've got late night bars and there is of course that element of going out. We've got great restaurants, we've got Michelin starred restaurants now, we've got a lovely theatre, we've got beautiful scenery now, walking on the river in the area and going to the coastline. You can come here for 2 or 3 days, you can have a booze-fueled evening, but you'll have a lot of fun around it as well, and you can make Newcastle a really fun place to go away for a couple of days, let your hair down, and if you come from Scotland, you'll be welcome with open arms.
Ollie Volkard owns 20 northeast bars and pubs. 13 of them are in the centre of Newcastle. He believes the Scottish restrictions will bring even more partygoers from across the border.
I believe that will be a great benefit to us, Cumbria, probably I would imagine as far down as York, if you're in Edinburgh and you're celebrating a birthday or New Year's Eve or wedding anniversary, you just want to go for a meal with some friends. I think you jump on a train and come down, stay in a hotel, and I think that's really good for us.
The Newcastle local authority area has more than 250 bars and pubs. They employ more than 9,000 people. New Year's Eve is big business in our part of the world, but it's not just these party destination bars and clubs that are important or affected on New Year's Eve, it's also family businesses.
Across the Tyne in Gateshead is the Nine Pins pub, where the general feeling is that we are ready for a big night out.
I'm just hoping that it goes as normal as possible. We are expecting a good turnout. But yeah, it's been a very difficult year to gauge anything. Numbers have been down on what you would expect from previous. There's been no cancellations through COVID. I think there is a need to gain confidence in certain aspects of the community. There is the elder generation that has gone up to build the confidence up again. But yeah, I don't think it's changed much in the northeast. No, not when you go to different places. I've worked around the country and travelled in different places, and we're certainly getting on with it more than anybody else, I think.
That's the northeast way.
Yeah, exactly.
And that feeling is echoed as we go even further into communities. Hyper-local hubs like this British Legion in County Durham have survived restrictions because of local loyalty.
The worry we have is because we do have the older people that come in and they do have health conditions. So when we do hear something's happening, we as a committee and a club make sure we do everything to make them feel comfortable enough to come in. Thankfully, they haven't been put off about it, because when we reopened last year after the first lockdown, they were straight in. And to be honest, they praise us for what we do. As difficult as it was at the beginning, they've all our regulars have continued to come in, and we can't thank them enough, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't still be here.
From world-famous night spots to your local Legion, the message this new year is very clear. The northeast of England is open for business.
But what about Wales? Communities close to England face some difficult decisions depending on which side of the border they happen to be on. And earlier on, I spoke to Chloe Skinner. She's a landlady of the Angel Inn near Abergavenny in Wales. And we chatted about how her regulars have been torn over whether to stay in or make the short trip across the border to England.
We're a small pub in a small village, Grosmont, which is about 10 miles from Abergavenny. So it's a very, close-knit community. A lot of people sort of in their older, 50s and 60s, who are, a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more cautious. Everybody has been extremely sensible, which we're really grateful for. But it makes you very conscious about how you operate and how you go forward when things like this do happen.
And yet just over the border, and you are just next to the border, aren't you, in Abergavenny? Completely different set of restrictions. Do you know Welsh families who are deciding to go and party on the other side, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're just a mile from the border here. So the next pub down the road, the Bridge Inn, they're a mile from us, and they're in England. So they're going to be facing a lot of difficult choices this evening about, what they put in place, what they do, who they accept into the pub and things like that. I feel for them quite a lot. For us, it's a loss of revenue, but for them, they're going to have to face a lot of difficult choices about what is the most sensible thing to do. And yeah, we do know of people who are certainly going to be going out and enjoying a New Year's with no restrictions.
Chloe Skinner speaking to me earlier on. Well, it's another day and, you guessed it, another record number of COVID cases across the UK, with just under 190,000 registered in the last 24 hours. But there is better news on the horizon. New data coming out now shows us the risk of being admitted to hospital as a result of catching the Omicron variant is about 1/3 of Delta. The UK Health Security Agency saying they've studied more than 1 million cases of both variants, and they found booster jabs are extremely effective against Omicron, with a third dose leading to an 81% reduction in the risk of hospital admission compared to unvaccinated people. Well, earlier on, Professor Carol Sikora joined my colleague Colin Brazier here on GB News and stressed the need to pay far more attention at the moment to the number of people in hospital because of COVID rather than case numbers themselves.
When you look at it, what's happened, it's plateaued. The numbers have gone through the roof, as we all know, nearly 200,000. They're almost certainly probably 300,000 or 400,000 people are just not testing. They can't get the kits or they don't bother to do it. So the numbers are very high, but the severity is very low, really low. And it's still mainly older people that die, and the death rate is going down all the time. Numbers up, death rate down. This is great news. And what it's all about is the virus evolving itself to be endemic. It's the road to endemicity. It's going to be, it wants to live with us. It wants us to live with it. And it's inevitable. Zero COVID is not achievable. This is the way it's going to end. Just becoming a common cold-like illness for most people. People do die of the common cold. They die of influenza. So we can't escape the fact there will be deaths, but we've got to restore society back to normal. And that's what we're seeing coming now. I think the next month it'll blow over. Will there be another one? The next letter of the Greek alphabet is pi. Who knows? I suspect pi will be even milder than Omicron, and that's the way these serial infections go. And it's good for me because I'm a cancer specialist. What do I know about infection? But it means we can get back to business as normal.
Professor Carol Sikora there talking to Colin Brazier earlier with some slightly happier news on COVID. Well, it still has affected us this New Year's Eve. London's traditional New Year's Eve fireworks display is back on after being cancelled by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. But revellers are being asked to stay away if they can and enjoy the display on television if at all possible. And royal parks are being closed in London as well to discourage people from gathering to watch the show. If you are planning to go out tonight, you can probably leave your winter coats at home, with temperatures set to reach around 15 degrees Celsius in some parts of the UK. We know now that's the warmest New Year's Eve on record, but we've also learned December has been one of the dullest months of all time. In fact, not since 1956 has Britain had so little winter sunshine. John Ketley is a weatherman, I'm sure you know that. He joined us earlier and he explained why it is so mild at the moment.
Yeah, we've got the subtropical air coming up from the south-southwest. I think if you follow the trajectories back with the airstream at the moment, it's probably coming from southwest of Madeira. Now, it does rain in Madeira, just like it rains here, and they've had some pretty hefty downpours recently, but the air is coming from that direction, south-southwest from the UK, and it's been stuck in a rut just at the moment. But, you know, it's ebbing and flowing. Don't forget, it's only a few days since we did actually report a white Christmas. Some parts of Scotland had some of the white stuff, and also parts of the Pennines as well, up around northern England. There was some snow even as recently as Christmas Day itself, and into Boxing Day too. It went a little bit further north, back up into Cumbria and southern Scotland, the Cheviots, that sort of area. So it is ebbing and flowing at the moment. We aren't stuck with just the subtropical air. We are seeing the wind directions change from day to day, but at the moment, yeah, we're still in this milder regime. But I think come Tuesday, after some more bouts of very wet weather and those high temperatures, milder temperatures, we are going to see it swing around to the north. Maybe it only goes for 24, 36 hours, but colder winds are coming.
Oh, it is nice to see John Ketley give us the weather, isn't it? That's just about it from me. All that remains to say is have a happy new year. Let's hope we can have a better 2022. Coming up on GB News, Liam Halligan is here with the best of Money Talks. First, though, should we catch up on that mild weather for the last few hours of 2021? Happy New Year.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
A very mild start to 2022. It's going to be a blustery day with gusty winds, but although there'll be some rain around, much of the day will be dry and